You're listening to Special Edition on Intercom Communications, hosted by Sue Henry.
There are some unsung heroes in northeastern Pennsylvania who selflessly give their time in order to make sure young people have someone who will listen and provide a good mentoring experience. That's the mission behind Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Bridge, whose successful program has been around for so long that some of the children have stepped up to become mentors themselves. The group's signature fundraiser, Bowl for Kids' Sake, is coming up on Saturday, March the 25th at Stanton Lanes in Wilkes-Barre. Here's Alan K. Stout, Community and Resource Development Coordinator of Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Bridge, with the background on the organization and some specifics on the fundraiser.
Its history, Sue, actually goes back over 100 years. So the agency itself, is, now into its second century. But here in northeastern Pennsylvania, it was formed in 1974. So we're here now for 43 years. Its mission is simple. It's to help take children who don't have a mentor in their life, a positive role model, and give them one. And this happens through volunteers who offer to spend a little bit of time with those children every week and be that big brother or big sister or mother figure, father figure, big brother, sister figure that they don't have. That doesn't always necessarily mean that they don't have those people in their lives either. And I could explain that, if you'd like, a little bit of how that happens. Because when I first started working for the agency, I remember I got a call once from a mom who wanted a big sister for her daughter. And, usually I assumed before I worked there that it would be the other way around, that the single dad would want a big sister for his daughter and the single mom would want a big brother for her son. But sometimes what happens is mom is working 2 or 3 jobs, just trying to keep that apartment going and keep that family together. And so she might recognize my daughter needs more. And I always tell people this: I think that's a very selfless thing to do, because I think we all as parents like to think that we can handle it and we don't need any help. And so when you realize that you do need some help and you put your own ego aside and you reach out to an agency like ours to get your child help, I see it as a very giving thing and a selfless thing and something that should be commended. So we have about 400 children matched in the 7 counties that we serve. And of course, here in Luzerne County, I guess that's about half of them right here. That's the good news. The bad news is our waiting list, which I talk about all the time because it's part of our volunteer recruitment. We have about 200 kids waiting for a match that don't have that person in their life, that big brother, big sister mentor, and that their parents or guardians, grandparents have made that call to us and told us that they need that person. And so that's something that frustrates us all every day around the office, and that's why you see us on television and in the newspapers and on the radio as often as we can to get that word out about that need for volunteers.
And I would assume that a lot of people think to themselves, well, is that really me that they're talking about? What can I bring to the table? And do you think that holds people back, that they find they don't have something special enough?
I guess that could be a part of it, sure. I mean, but everybody has something to give. Everybody that's an adult has some miles on them, and they've lived some life, and they have some experience just to share and some wisdom. I think that's one thing, too. Another obstacle that some people might see before them that is not there, and I love to talk about this, is the time. I think a lot of folks think, oh, I'd love to do that, but I don't have time. You might have 2 jobs yourself, or it could be as simple as, well, Saturdays I'm busy. I got to cut my grass and do my laundry and do my grocery shopping. I don't have all day to spend with this child on Saturday. I wish I could. Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't need to be all day. We ask for an hour or 2 per week, and you can do that at your convenience. That's the beauty of volunteering with Big Brothers Big Sisters. Most human service agencies that are doing anything, and they're all doing great stuff. They're all doing anytime anybody needs help and they're looking for volunteers, they're probably doing something good. And I commend them all, and I encourage everybody to help out in the community as much as they can. But if you are somebody that's looking at time, all those places are probably going to tell you the day and the time they need you. Hey, we're going to clean up the road on Saturday. It's one of those, highway cleanups. All right, well, we're meeting Saturday at 10. You're going to help? Be there. We're going to distribute these clothes to people. All right, well, the truck's coming Sunday morning. Be there. With Big Brothers Big Sisters, it's not like that. You work that out with mom or dad. So if you want to spend some time on Saturday afternoon, that's fine. If you want to do Thursday night after work, that's fine. If something comes up in your life and you got to switch it around, give them a call. Say, hey, look, I know we usually get together with Johnny on Tuesday, but can I do Wednesday this week? I got to work late. Fine. That's okay. And so it gives you tremendous flexibility, and it's not as much time as you think. It's an hour or two a week.
You mentioned that this has been ongoing in our area for over 40 years. Have you had people, you could have literally by now generations of people in this program. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the heritage participation in this?
Well, my favorite one is a gentleman named Bill Yeager, who was a little brother in our program from South Wilkes-Barre, Myers High School guy. I've got to know Bill well over the last 5 or 6 years since I've worked with the agency. And the reason I got to know him well is because as an adult, he became a successful businessman. He owned his own insurance agency now in 44. And he served as the president of our board. And so there's talk about coming full circle. I mean, he's in the program as a little boy. He got what he needed from the program through his big brother, who he's still in contact with. And then when he grew up, he wanted to give back to the agency, so he got on the board, served on the board for quite a few years, and eventually he served as our president for 2 years. And he's also chaired our Bowl for Kids' Sake event. And so we see stories like that from time to time, people that have gone through our program and come back to help us out, either as a big brother or big sister, or got involved with the board. But, we see the outcomes all the time, and there have been studies. These kids, the facts are there. They are less likely to skip school. They are less likely to get involved with drugs or alcohol. They are more inclined to go to college. They will have a higher sense of self-esteem and self-worth just by having that mentor in their lives. And so that's what we hope happens for every single one of them.
Another component of your work is the programs that you do in the school system to alert people about bullying. And this has been a focus now for a couple of years with different agencies, individuals, programs, etc. How do you approach this?
Teaching our anti-bullying courses is probably one of the favorite things that I do. And I know you a long time, so I wear a lot of hats in life. So outside of Big Brothers Big Sisters, I write for a couple of newspapers and I do a radio show. In Big Brothers Big Sisters, it's marketing and public relations and fundraising. But the bullying program is really dear to me. I approach it as a conversation. Now, we meet with students. Currently, we're at 4 different schools. We're at Hanover area, Greater Nanticoke area, Wyoming Valley West High School, and middle school. And what we do is we work with the administration who identify some kids that should be in the group. And it could be from 3 different sort of groups of kids from the school. It could be kids that have been bullied. It could be kids that are bullies. They could really use the message, obviously. And sometimes it's just the advocates of the school. It's those leaders that want to stop bullying at their school, and they're trying to help us foster that anti-bullying culture. And so they put them all in a room with me, usually about 8 to 10 kids, and we meet for 4 weeks for about 30 minutes to an hour. And we talk about everything. We talk about the 5 different types of bullying, which is physical, verbal, cyber, exclusion, property. We ask them to identify those, and they usually can very easily because they've seen it all their whole lives. And kids today have seen even cyberbullying their whole life. I mean, it's about 10 years now that's been around. So you have kids in junior high school that grew up with it, and that's a new one. I tell the kids all the time. That wasn't the other 4 were around forever, but that one's your generation's version of bullying. And so we talk about that. We talk about empathy. We talk about diversity and respecting it. I give the kids a little questionnaire, and I ask them to ask a bunch of questions about themselves, and then we compare their answers, and sometimes they have some things in common, and sometimes they don't. But at the end of that little session, I ask them, well, the most important question on that paper is the one that wasn't there. And that's, would any of those answers really mattered? And how you felt about that person? If someone had a different favorite movie than you, or a different favorite subject in school, or they were born in Pennsylvania and you were born in New York, or they wanted to be a doctor when they grew up and you want to be a teacher, and every single time I do that exercise, the kids tell me no. Wouldn't matter. And that's the answer I was always hoping they give, and they always do. And then I say, well, then how silly is it for you to dislike somebody that, you don't know anything about? You guys just took 15 minutes to talk to each other a little bit, and you all told me that even though you're quite different on a lot of things, it doesn't matter that much. And yet a bully will target somebody normally that they don't even know. They just decide for some reason that they don't like this kid. And so try to give them things to think about in discussions like that. And of course, the biggest thing we talk about is empathy. Just the good old golden rule. I love doing it. I really do.
Yeah. And in your work, this has been such a focus in schools, and around here we've had some events that have been truly tragic in regards to, I guess, the cause is bullying. Sometimes that is what is stated, but we never really find out for sure. Are you noticing any kind of inroads into this particular issue with school districts? Are you finding more support from the administration and from peers and from people who are willing to step it up and come forward and say, "This is," call people out, "This is wrong. You have to stop it"?
Absolutely. Over at the middle school of Valley West, they have a great anti-bullying culture. There's signs on the outside of the building, no bull zone, and posters in every classroom and in the hallways. And I tell the kids that this is different from when I grew up. When some of these schools I teach at, I went to, and so I'm in these hallways and these classrooms that I sat in as a student, a long time ago. And I tell the kids, all this stuff happened when I was here, except for the cyberbullying. The biggest difference is this stuff. And I point to the posters and I said, guys like me didn't come in and talk to you about it. With the adults back then. And I said, I'm not going to tell you guys that you wouldn't get in trouble if you were really giving somebody a hard time. But there was also a certain perspective that it was kind of part of growing up, and it was just kids being kids. And this generation of adults has said, no, it isn't. And you don't need somebody on the school bus making your life miserable before you even get to school in the morning. And we're not going to put up with it anymore. And a whole bunch of kids are on board with that. And they want to help make that, they want to, stop that. And one of the things that happened was a nice story over at one of the schools I teach. A kid was in my program as a 6th grader who had gotten in some trouble with some bullying. And then 2 years later, as an 8th grader, they were coming back, and you think, uh-oh, what happened? Why are you back, And the principal told me, no, she wants to take the course again because she wants to be one of the advocates. She wants to get a refresher on things because she wants to be one of the kids that goes out into the hallways of this school now and helps police this stuff. And so that was a great feeling, obviously connecting with some of these kids.
You have an event coming up that raises, there's always two things, the awareness and the funds, and they're both important. I don't think that one is more important than the other. So talk about that event.
Both for kids' sake. It'll be happening on March 25th at Stanton Lanes. It's something that our agency has been doing for about 35 years now. It's always been our biggest signature fundraiser. It can attract somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 people. We've had, over 200 teams bowling, sometimes some years up to 300 teams bowling. Obviously, that's what we shoot for. And it's basically a great way to support this program in our community in a fun way. I always tell people, if you've ever done a walk for charity where, you did the MS walk or the leukemia walk, and I've done those walks myself, you get sponsors. You ask your friends to throw you a few bucks, and then you go and you walk and you turn in the money. Well, this is the same thing except you bowl. So it's a bowl-a-thon. And what's nice about it is you round up, 5 of your coworkers or family or friends, and you come down to Stanton Lanes and you bowl a game. It takes about an hour. You have some fun. You turn in whatever sponsorship money you were able to collect, and we have refreshments there. There's snacks and pizza and hot dogs and soda. That's all complimentary. We get a lot of things donated to the community for this event. And it's a nice way to ensure that this program is sustained. because it can make, ideally, it's $100,000 event every year. And there's some years where we've fallen a little short of that, and there's some years where we surpassed that in the time that I've been there for 5 years now. But for the most part, that's the goal, and we're usually right around that number. And so that goes a long way in helping provide these services to these kids with match support, with volunteer recruitment, with background checks on volunteers, all these things that take, some operational cost to make sure it happens. Bowl for Kids' Sake helps make sure that happens. So, we'd love to see you there on March 25th. And it's easy to do. Go right online and register. bbbsnepa.org. That's our website. Or just give us a call, 824-8756. We'll get you a team card out in the mail, or we'll drop it off for you if we have to, because we're getting close now.
Yeah. In terms of getting people to step forward to become the adult volunteers in this program, what are the requirements age-wise, geographically? And you did mention background checks, so what happens there?
Well, the background check's pretty standard. I mean, anytime that you're doing anything with kids now, you're going to do that, whether you're volunteering at the church or the Little League or the Cub Scouts or anything. You're going to have to, do a little bit of that, and we'll help you with that. There's no charge to the volunteer. It's just some stuff, just some paperwork that needs to be cleared. As far as the requirements, high school kids can do it as long as they are at least a junior or 16, and we do have a school-based program for high school kids where they can actually do it once a week at one of the area schools after school, so they don't have to necessarily worry about picking a child up or taking them out anywhere. They meet in the cafeteria for about 90 minutes one day a week after school, and we're all over Wilkes-Barre, so and over on the west side as well a little bit in Hazleton. So if you're a teenager and you're interested in it, we could put you in our school-based program. The more traditional program is the community-based program, and that's where the volunteer literally picks the child up at the house once a week and they go off and do something fun. And that's more for 18-year-old to the sky's the limit. We don't have any age limit on, being too old to do it. We actually do have some really nice folks who I guess you might describe them as empty nesters. And the children are grown and gone, and they have that little void in their life, and they have that knowledge to give and that wisdom to give, and so they want to give that time. So that is, we see people doing that in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. And we'll always be happy to help anybody through the process as seamlessly as possible.
Alan K. Stout is Community and Resource Development Coordinator of Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Bridge. Bowl for Kids' Sake is set for Saturday, March the 25th at Stanton Lanes in Wilkes-Barre. More details are available on the group's Facebook page. You're listening to Special Edition on Entercom Communications.